on a darker bay, wasting time. Look like nothing's gonna change. Everything still remains the same.
Maritime Matters is brought to you live by Bahamas Maritime Connection.
What is maritime?
Maritime, simply put, relates to navigation or commerce on the high seas.
Some say money makes the world go round. I say ships move the money that make the world move.
Who navigates those large international ships?
How often are international ships required to be surveyed and inspected?
Maritime also protects our seas and borders by way of our local Bahamas Defense
It is
Force.
very sad to say that out of 1,500 plus ships that are registered under the Bahamian flag, only a very small amount of Bahamians are employed.
Maritime Matters.
And pleasant good evening to you, our valued listening audience. Welcome one. Welcome all. Welcome to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. The producer for our show tonight is, of course, the great one himself, Mr. Maestro, Craig Gibson. We're coming to you live via Love 97 FM. This is Tuesday, the 17th day of February 2026. And if it's Tuesday, you know the deal. It's maritime tick, 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 matters. We encourage that if you're driving and tuning with us, please do so cautiously and ensure to take your time in getting wherever it is you are trying to get safely. As the saying goes, drive to arrive alive. Our sponsors for the night show, of course, One-on-One Pharmacy and Island Care Pharmacy. For all your medication needs, check out my little cousin Shanty and my bride and a lovely team at One-on-One Pharmacy Nassau, and of course Island Care Pharmacy up there downtown Freeport. Fill your prescription at the store or send refills via the online site oneononepharmacy.com. That's One-on-One Pharmacy, all lowercase, all one word, .com. The three locations are East Street South, Charles Sanders Highway. Those are the two in Nassau, and of course, Explorers Way in Freeport. We are secondly sponsored by Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited. That is us. We provide a full slate of ISPS maritime security services, and we're here for you. And at this time, I say good night to my Auntie May. Auntie May, all the way up there in Freeport. 92 years old, people. 92 years old and going strong. Strong. Auntie May is going to be 93 this year, and he ain't long now. So the monkey tell the butcher when he cut off his tail, he ain't long now. As you know, we do maritime up in here. Tonight, we engage discussions on the disputes surrounding shanty towns. The disputes surrounding boating fees. Norwegian Cruise Line is going to build some three big, huge, they're going to join the neck of the woods when it comes to those big ships over 200,000 gross tons. You know, there's 200,000 gross tons on one ship. Yeah, man, they've been left with all this time. Now they're going to join the batch. We got a blockade going on with Cuba. Any ship trying to carry fuel into Cuba. Now remember now, we had a situation with Venezuela. Cuba used to get over 90%, if not all, of its fuel from Venezuela because they had that kind of relations, eh? Now that the U.S. has taken over the fuel in Venezuela, what going on? They ain't getting that no more. But guess what else? Even though they ain't getting that no more, getting no fuel from nowhere, because if anybody try to carry fuel into Cuba, the U.S. Coast Guard stopping you and turning you away. It's a blockade. Now, little stuff like rations, and because we could talk in some detail about this later, right? But, once you ain't getting no fuel, imagine now, the Bahamas ain't getting no more fuel. Anything try to come to Clifton Pier for Nassau, U.S. Coast Guard say, hey, where you going? No, you can't go there. Fuel affects our electricity. It affects our water, because water need to be pumped through those pipes. And if you ain't getting no electricity, your pump ain't gonna pump no water. And if you ain't getting no fuel, you ain't gonna have no electricity. So Cuba is now going through that process, and right now it ain't looking good, because they almost to the wee end, and we got some things to talk about that, right? Excuse me, people. So discussions surrounding these hot topics, we include all that stuff. The shanty towns, we want to talk about updating the shanty towns in this country. We want an update. We know that since somewhere in 2023, the demolitions in certain areas started. I think we started with Kool-Aid, because well, that one had a fire. And the government said, all right, you all had fire. Ain't nobody coming back here. Let's knock this down and that one over. And that was good. And then there were a couple others, and recently there was one on Fire Trail Road, But that was just a little cherry picking operation. I think they had anywhere between 30 and 50 homes that were marked to be demolished. I've almost said demolitionized. Well, my daughter may still get on my case. They were marked to be demolished. And some 3 of them were actually demolished. And I'm sure the government plans to go back there and get the rest. So we're going to talk about that recent activity. And we got this big boating fees hanging over our head. That's going to be one of our discussions, where all these pleasure yachts visiting our country are being, I want to say, gouged. My friend Herbie don't like me to say gouged. But I believe they're being gouged, because nowhere else in this hemisphere they're being charged nowhere near what we're trying to charge them. And they come in here on their own, and we're charging them for coming here. You can talk about that some more. We got a situation where high-speed craft, go-fast boats, they call them, seen anywhere on the east or west coast of Colombia, Venezuela, that type of thing, they getting shabby. All they know is a missile hit them, boom, they out the water, blow up, people dead, and it's really bad. It's really bad. And we want to have a little, because it's still going on. Just 2 days ago, one of them was blasted. I think one person might have survived, and I even ain't sure that person survived all the way through. But during the initial impact, I think one of them didn't die. But they've had now, what the figure is, I think they say a couple hundred, and we could get that figure later on and really pin it down. A couple hundred that have been killed by way of those small boats being exploded, well bombed. Whether they be drones, whether they be just missiles, whatever the U.S. armed forces are using, they're actually taking them out of the water. So those are some of the things that we want to discuss tonight. So be sure to stay tuned as we delve into these discussions on those maritime issues. We are talking maritime, people. You are listening to Maritime Matters. At this point, we're going to move to our first break. When we return, it will be my esteemed pleasure to introduce those topics on a grander scale. Please do stay tuned.
At Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, we offer first-class maritime security services throughout the Bahamas and the wider Caribbean. As experts in maritime security, we specialize in production of ISPS assessments and plans, verification audits, certified familiarization training, and port security consultancy, just to name a few. Our services also include provision of a security force to maintain all required ISPS facility security compliance. For all your maritime security needs, visit us today in Nassau at our East Street South location or in Freeport in the Kipling Building. Call us at 392-3515 or follow us on all social media platforms. Bahamas Maritime Connection, your leader in maritime security. Let's help you make the connection. At One-on-One Pharmacy, our friendly staff is ready to serve you. Visit us today for all your prescription and over-the-counter needs at our East Street South or Charles Saunders Highway locations. We're open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and from 9 to 4 on Sundays. In a rush? Send your refill scripts online at oneononepharmacy.com or ask about our convenient pickup service. One-on-One Pharmacy, providing personal health care with people at heart.
Love 97. It's a great feeling.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, then I'll watch them roll away again. Yeah. I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Just sitting on the dock of the bay.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are tuned in to Love 97 FM, and you are listening to Maritime Matters. On this show, we talk maritime. Maritime Matters airs weekly at 17:05. That's 5:05 p.m. We're going a little late today, but don't watch nothing. We got a loaded show, and you have tuned in at the right time. Right here on Love 97 FM. Primary purpose of our show is to sensitize Bahamians of opportunities in the maritime sector. We also cover current maritime issues from the domestic and international maritime feeds. The phone number to reach us, should you wish to get in on the discussion during the show, is 326-8255. Again, the number to reach us is 326-8255. To hear a replay of this show or any of our previous shows, simply hit us up at any time on our YouTube page. That's Maritime Matters Bahamas. Just like how you say, I love you. It's 3 words. Maritime Matters Bahamas. Just go to YouTube on your electronic device and type into the search box Maritime Matters Bahamas, and you will see a litany of our shows, including this one that we're doing now. Later on tonight, this will be uploaded. So if you didn't get a chance to hear the whole show, please feel free to hit us up on YouTube at any time and just go to town. So let's talk maritime. Our hot topics for the night will be led by what's going on in our country with Shanty. Because in the dailies they have the Unregulated Communities Action Task Force. And I wrote that one down, right? Unregulated Communities Action Task Force. You know, Action Task Force is they're the people who's come by force to make you do what you're supposed to do or stop you from doing what you ain't supposed to do, right? So we got an Action Task Force here for unregulated communities, meaning shanty towns in our view, right? Because, you know, this thing go back a couple good years. Well, even my good friend, former Minister Shane Gibson, was catching a little flack for getting rid of a shanty town off Carmichael Road there, right? And then, of course, next former minister, Branville McCartney, he started to do some stuff. And he got spanked once or twice, and I think he had to leave it alone. But our Superman, our current Minister of Works, Mr. Clay Sweeting, I call him Superman, because he have done over the past 3 years what this country have not seen, I don't think, in the history of the country. Well, not only did he assign a task force, or should I say the PLP administration, Prime Minister Brave Davis administration, they assigned a task force just to focus on unregulated communities. And they are doing just that. So I don't want anybody to think that things are not happening. Now, I might agree with many people who are saying that things are not happening as effectively as they should. But let's creep and then walk and then run. Now, you don't know, and I don't know. We can speculate much as we like. We do not know who's going to be taking the helm of this country after the upcoming election. And we all got our little people we want pull for, or we want vote for, or we hoping for, or whatever the case may be, and for whatever reason. But one thing I could tell you is whoever take the reins after this election, we need to see this unregulated communities operation move to a higher level. We've had years with no action. Now we had 3 years of action. And now we need to go to 5 years of serious impacting action. Because this country is too small. We could ill afford to have people coming in and doing what they please as far as making homes for themselves on properties they don't own, buildings that are not regulated. That's why they call them unregulated communities. And you know, we don't only need to get on the people behind putting up these structures, because I can tell you, people making big money of putting up these unregulated communities. Because I watched one start from about 4 or 5 houses and move into about 50 to 60 houses. Well, of course, they all right on top of one another because they basically sharing electricity, cord running from one to the next. And guess what? No cesspit. None of them could have flushed a toilet because none of them had no toilet because they're not designed to have toilets. So you know the place smelled like, right? And I only know because I had a property right next door and I was really, you know, anyway, these things are happening. And then some of them are happening on land that we know who the owners are. And from back then, it was being alleged that, I remember when Prime Minister Perry Christie put out there that we are going after the owners of the land where these shanty towns are. Because what some of these, and these big name people, I understand, these ain't no little peep squeak fly by night people. These are big time people with big time names in this country that own some of these land where these shanty towns are. And they were supposed to be put in the court for allowing these unregulated buildings to be on their property. And of course, we saw no action as a result of that. We see nobody get locked up. And these people still got them on their land. And plenty of them on government land. And you see that area along Carmichael Road, call it Carmichael Road. That area along Carmichael Road, as you drive toward, all that used to be just bush. And why? Because that's where all our well fields were before we started to do the reverse osmosis and didn't need the well field water like we used to, and didn't need the barge to come and bring water from Andres like they used to. And so that's a lot of land now that the government owns, because it was owned by water and sewage or by the government anyway. But as they start to clear down and you drive along Carmichael, you see all kind of little structures that you know cannot pass approval from Ministry of Works building unit. They can't. They'll have to flatten them and start again from digging a footing. They ain't got no footing to begin with. It's the shabby stuff. And the government, I assume it's the government, clear, because the government own it. Well, they give out some so far. But they clearing down all around these homes and they moving these homes. And every time I take that drive, I be like, but what is up? Because I'm sure some of our politicians have to have say, especially when they just had this recent runoff, this by-election after my classmate, Minister Vaughan Miller passed away, and may God continue to bless his soul. They have to pass that every day, because you know there's up in them areas deep. And they're looking at these things all the time. When are they going to tear those down? And I understand the COI with Mr. Lincoln Bean and some of his people decided to go in the bush too and put up some structure. I don't know where they put them and I don't know if they're up. Right? But I couldn't blame them, because if non-Bahamians could put up structures and they ain't fooling with them, why shouldn't Bahamians do the same thing? Well, I don't think nobody should be allowed to do it. But is our government going to take this in hand and deal with this? And you know what I did this morning? And I did this purposefully. I slowly took a path at the end of Montgomery Avenue. And you walk down and then you keep walking and then you reach that steep curve to the left. And then I was like, oh, so that's what's going on in the back here. You see Shanty house after Shanty house, and they're not right on the main road, you know. They're behind the houses on the main road. So they're like between, as Cox Avenue, I think it is, between that Cox Avenue after it curve around and with that road, Cowpen Road. So their land even ain't marked out properly. But what they do is they make sure you can't see them from Cowpen Road. And then they go behind the homes where authorized to be there, and they find that middle ground, and they build a structure. That ain't their land. And the structures are not regulated because they don't have no path. You can't even drive to some of the house. So we know Ministry of Works even ain't been there to even look at them to say, oh, we can give you approval. So people, when I was doing my walk, I look at these homes. And you know what stood out to me? I look at one, and then I saw a number. I look at another one further down, I saw a number. And these numbers started to increase. I saw, and before the number is always MG. I don't know what the MG stand for, right? I ministry, no, I don't know what MG stand for, but what they used to put on those homes is DEHS. Now I remember the ones by my property up the road what I was talking about earlier. Those ones, they had DEHS, and I knew what that meant. Department of Environmental Health Service. They were spraying that on those houses, but they never came back to move them. Because my property still there and I know it didn't come. The fire had to get rid of them. And sometimes we say, thank God for the fire. I don't like to know that people's homes get burned down, right? But they were illegal. So maybe they should have gotten burned down. I mean, we know nobody get hurt, so we ain't gonna even talk, we ain't gonna go down that road. But they shouldn't have been there to begin with. And our government don't have the testicular fortitude to move them unless fire burn. Our government know where each and every single one of these homes are, where each and every single one of these shanty towns are, and they what Mr. Oh my God, may his soul rest in peace, is a pussyfooting around. That's what they doing. They going and making it look like, because they keep going. Then they give them a deadline and they put the MG 102, MG 103, MG 107, MG 112, and I assume that 102 means 102nd structure. So here you are with over 100 structures. And they put this here from last year, the middle of last year. So they coming back to take them down in 1 month. You think any come down yet? And Superman, Mr. Clay Sweeten, I must say, have done a lot compared to his predecessors. They did nothing. So we can't knock him. We can't knock him. But am I satisfied as a Bahamian? Should you be satisfied as a Bahamian? I don't know, but I know I'm not satisfied. You see, I come from the defense force. I came up through the military. And I not only came up through the military, a lot of times we used to shoot first and ask second. We believe in getting things done. Now I'm sure my good friend Mr. Craig Delancey and his team at Ministry of Works would like to take them down tomorrow or even tonight. But the power to do so lies within the politicians, like everything else. And I know hard work. I used to be a head of department when I wanted to do things and couldn't do it. The politicians got to give you the green light. And then for obvious reasons, because if you're going to do some things now and it's derogatory, it's going to reflect on that administration. And that's why I'm trying to see. Well, not see. I would like to know. What are the plans of the PLP if they were to win this next election? What are they going to do with these shanty towns? How far are they going to take it? Because if this place got 30 or so or 40 homes and they only take down 3, that ain't looking too good. What are the plans of the FNM, the official opposition? Or what they call it, the royal opposition? Well, the opposition that we have in the house. What is their intent? Sometimes, do they have a shadow minister for works? Do they have a shadow minister for immigration? What are these people saying to us? You want us to vote for you? Tell us what you have planned. The COI don't tell us. We're getting rid of all of them. I think it's very clear what Mr. Lincoln Bain and his team want to do, because they've been wrecking havoc on some of them, while the other political bodies, well, I wouldn't say do a hands-off, well, certainly the FNM has been doing a hands-off. I haven't heard anything as to what the FNM will do with these shanty towns. Anybody hear anything about what the FNM, any FNM out there, please, if you have any information, any idea what the FNM intend to do with these shanty towns, please, 326-8255, that's the number to call. Call now. You know, so often we just sit back and, oh, well, you know, we gotta sit back and take over the government because the people are fed up with this one. And that may be so in many cases. It has certainly been so in the past couple of times, right? But we don't know what going on this time. But even so, tell us, what is your plans? for these shanty towns if you were to take the reign of this country? I'd like to know. And I'm sure many of you would like to know. 326-8255 is the number to call. So they went off Fire Trail Road and they mashed up a few. Montgomery Avenue, they still there. And I know, you all know. And I would like to know when you all coming there. Because we need to see some things happening. Yes, some things have happened over the past 3 years. But we don't think that's enough. That's more than we ever saw. We give you that. But I don't want you to think we're satisfied with all this MG 100 and something on these structures and ain't none coming down. And not only in this area you do that. You did that all over the island and Abaco. And we remember when you say you was getting back to Abaco to do some things and now they just had a big fire up there. And the fire spreading into all car lot where they dump cars and dump things and okay. When the hurricane came and wiped out the mud in the Pigeon Peak, right? That was the big Dorian. We say, boy, Dorian done do a task. Let's make sure they don't go back here. And then they go on further up and build bigger or larger, as I understand it. Now, I've been to Abaco and I saw some of them, right? But they build larger communities, unregulated, and still building them. So yeah, we stop them from going back here. But why are we allowing them to go elsewhere? And don't tell me you don't know, because I know you know. So when is our government, whether it be the PLP, the FNM, the COI, the DNA, the independents, I don't care who it be, when are we going to actually get a grip? I asked many times for a schedule. Let me see a schedule with the shanty towns on it as to which one you could do every month. Because if you do one a month, at least you can get 12 a year. Let me see a schedule. Because if you're serious, you will have a schedule. You will have a forecast. And that don't only apply to the PLP administration. That apply to the opposition if you are looking to come in. That apply to the COI if you are looking to come in. Let us see a schedule, a tentative schedule you have for shantytown demolitions. And I ain't talking about going into the shantytown, marking them for 1 month and letting it run on and going there and maybe mash down one or two. Oh, we ain't enough for Bahamian living this way. Man, look here, if they're unregulated, they're unregulated. I don't care who live in them. Because I know if you find an area with 30 Bahamian homes and none of them in the Ministry of Works and they're unregulated and club board and all the rest of that, you all will push that down overnight. We know. So, ladies and gentlemen, while it has been reported or alleged that over 500 shanty homes have been demolished over the past 3 years, I know if that figure is accurate. I know the fire wiped out plenty, right? So, they said has been demolished. We still seeing some of them right in our sight. Just drive along Michael Road or Carpenter Road. You see them all the time. Boy, and don't drive along Carpenter Road in the morning around 6:30, 7 o'clock. Because the amount of people you see coming out of that bush area, all along Carmichael Road, anywhere to the south of Carpenter Road, they got homes all over the place. So we know, and we got drones now. You even ain't got to go rumbling through the bush no more. And then we got to start going on these jobs where people are hiring undocumented workers. And these people are not being brought before the courts to be charged at $3,500 for hiring undocumented workers. So they continue to do it. These are the things we need to do, people. These are the things if we're serious in this country, and I know many of us are serious, and I know many government officials are serious. But why we can make noise if we're serious? We need to get serious. 326-8255. If you're a little serious, give me a call. 326-8255. Now, as time moves on, we move on. Let's go to this boating fees. We had a little update from the Deputy Prime Minister, the Minister of Tourism. And I read that update and I was looking for some kind of appeasal as to when we're going to roll back on that gouging, that fee gouging we did last year. When are we going to say we're going to rescind that? When is it going to be said that that will no longer be effective as at certain time? We're going to continue to fart around with it and talk about it and say we can do something? What is the position of the loyal opposition party? What is the position of the COI party when it comes to this hike in fees for entering our country on a boat? Because if you come by plane, you're going to pay this fee. This only if you come by boat. Excuse me. And I'm not talking about a boat where you're carrying passengers to make money. Not the charter boats. The pleasure boats where you're not taking anybody on your boat that have to pay. This is your family, your friends, and that type of thing. But if you're coming by boat, you got to pay $1,500, $1,600 to enter our waters or to enter our country as a tourist. I was in Inagua over the weekend doing some work from Martin, Bahamas. I go there pretty often, right? And Martin they're good peoples. And while I was there, my good friend Derek, Derek, you thought I wasn't going to call your name, Derek Farquharson. That's my good friend, right? So is Eddie and Farquharson. All them Farquharsons down there. And a lot of Inagua got some good people, and I love them all, right? But Derek is the type of fellow, he gets around. And Derek made arrangement for some people on these sailing yachts. Because see, what they did in Inagua was they opened up the basin and dredged it so that the Defense Force boat could come in, mail boat could come in, and then they put like 2 or 3 slips, marinas, a little marina in there. I think they should take it a little further. What they should do, in my opinion, is move that road around so that the marina could be expanded and take up that road that exists so that the road could go around and you could have more spaces for ships. Is that a call, Mr. Producer? And all the rest of that stuff. Caller, you on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon, Captain Glenn Bean.
Good afternoon to you, my friend, and how are you?
Man, everything blessed, man. The man would blow me up. Man, you talking about the Shanty gang, them expanding. I see this with my own 2 eyes right here in Bambudan. One of my boys, in the front house, this people in the house, but he have it on 50 feet from the back of the house, wall up and thing, all on the sides and everything. And he decided to show up and, they live, and they put them stairs, mile siding on it and things like that, man. As soon as the roof pitch, hit, 4 red papers on his house. 4.
Yeah, I bet you he's a payment.
Yes, man. How are these shanties down getting the sound, man? If that's how it is operate, man?
Well, Muff, they do that. They allow non-Bahamians to do shanty. They ain't allow me to do it.
Exactly. You see the one with the gas breakdown day before yesterday? I don't have me in it. That's 2 stay.
Fire Trail Road?
Yeah. That was 2 stay.
That's the only 3 houses they break down, eh?
Yeah. But that's what I'm trying to say, man. Once you the Bahamians go to put up a wall on doghouse, they rush up on there quick. But all them shanty down, they turn a blind eye to them over the years from the 80s up to now.
Yeah. Well, last you been on Michael Road heading toward Coral Harbor and see all that land, we clear on right hand side with all them little...
Man, hey, that So shock me, man. Shock me. From their phone starters, where they get food, the building there, and they fell up on the pilot stuff, whatever you put up there.
Yeah.
But I was shocked, you know, that amount of houses. I thought that's the Wellfield.
That was the Wellfield, and the thing is, once you got that bush, see, the thing is, these people slick. Once they know you got bush near the road, they now you'll see plenty track roads, right? But you ain't know where them track roads going.
Man, some people that gate their fence and lock off the road, lock off the building, their water and switch guy will get there.
Gated community. They got gated community. I'm off.
yeah. And then like you say with the depot on Carpenter Road in the morning. I said to my friends, when they actually get off the pass out of the Fifth Avenue red light, I said many people with me, I said they all them they got a wake permit or something, right?
But they ain't gonna wake permit. They just see, but we don't enforce our laws, so they need that.
All the bus might do pull up right there, man, in the morning, and see, man, at least 200 of them right there, like you say, straight down past the people them where they sell the fruits and all of that.
Yeah, all of it. I don't have no problem with them people trying to make a living. My problem, Muff, is they going somewhere to wake. And our authorities know where they speak going to wake. All you gotta do is lock up the man who hired them, because the law say he can be charged $3,500 for each one of them he hire.
Right.
And make example of one or two of the people who hiring them, and then they will definitely have to get work permit, and they should only be able to get work permit for certain things, because the construction business now these fellas taking over, you know.
Yeah, when we do the gate of the things, we come out there in the morning, I got looking for John. People pick them up and they say, yeah, but you got them up out there empty.
Yeah, but Muff, if you pick them up, what you can do? You can put them in the detention center and gotta feed them. You don't need.
You got to do something.
No, man, we ain't wanna win. We don't even need no detention center. Once we could stop them from waking by putting pressure on whoever employing them, man, they can find somewhere else to go. Because you know they only doing it now because they're getting away with it, and the employers are getting away.
Right. And then down by the stalls and things like that, man, then people stop on the road doing ordering stuff, and they ain't coming to the car. Police truckers come and shoot right on them and go and do nothing and things like that. And they blocking up all the road. They want onion and they want okra and everything from in the car. And then we're just talking about the boats. The boats are, man, they lose 51% or so. They don't go on people so down with them female, them my fee. We could talk to Prescott Smith and the other gentleman who's running his other, who's on the body show and everything too.
Yeah, Prescott was on my show, being him done talk about that on my show. You missed that show.
Yeah, but I can't talk with him to leave on you. I listen to one day.
I know.
Yeah, because he be around, he's on doing around.
Yeah, that's my
point. But yeah, man, the fellas them and gone so because of our fees them right now. I mean, yeah, so they can go and get that money down to them other islands, them other countries down so down.
Yeah, they go on. A lot of them is go to Jamaica and Dominican Republic and
all the places, right?
Yeah, that's what they do. Because I was talking when you called. I was about to tell you about the story with the people. One of those same people that was on the yacht. They say they was leaving that same next day and going to Jamaica, and they shabby me with them fees. They say they used to pay $600 when they came 2 years ago. Now they had to pay $1,600.
Right. But them two fellas from Fort Lauderdale doing all like legal fishing and everything, get with the guns and everything. Yeah. Them will get in that too now, so they got to look into a lot of that going on over there too.
And I can tell you how I tell them we can deal with that. But anyway,
I like to continue listening to that. Great show.
Okay, partner. Thanks for calling, man. Take care. Yeah, man. That's my childhood friend. That's my boy, my little brother. Muff, really don't play. He's something like me. We don't play, right? So we talking about the boating fees. I was telling you. Derek Farkas and then he's now going to introduce me to these brothers. It was like a group of about 12 people, and they had a couple yachts. Some was in the marina. I was saying they need to expand that marina, that basin in Inagua, so that they could have more marina space, because they had like 6 or 8 boats anchored outside the harbor because there wasn't no more space for them to come in. And then further up, they had another 4 or 5. They had boats anchored all over the place around Inagua because the marina is not big enough. So if they dig out beyond the road all the way down, going to the east, and run the road around that, they'll have far more marina space. Defense Force boat could have far more maneuverability, and they could have 3 and 4 boats in there one time. The male boat, they dock right there. Well, they ain't gonna get nobody. So I'm just suggesting that we put a plan together to expand, because you're talking about Inagua. They surrounded by ocean, shallow water there for them to and ain't much land to protect them and this and that. They need that basin to be expanded, so when those boats in that area, they come straight in like they do when they come to Nassau, like they do when they get in Abaco, when they Lutra and Exuma and places like that. Most of these places got marinas, they could come and just be secure. Okay, so we talking the fees jumping from an average of $600 per entry to $1,000 plus $300 for anchoring plus $300 for what else? Something else. So it's a bunch of fishing permit, I think it is. It's a bunch of little tacked on charges. And the people were like, oh, Captain Bean, why is it so drastic? Why have, most of our friends told us they no longer coming to the Bahamas because it ain't white coming to the Bahamas anymore. They like the fishing here and they like to just come and enjoy the beautiful waters. But, that fee is outrageous. And I told them, I said, no, man, we doing something with that. You tell them they just won't be able to come back, because we realize, and then the marina operators, the people in the family islands, they all say, I was hiding over the holidays. Usually, or the New Year's, Christmas, New Year's break, those marinas be full of people, right? Because, that's the time when people get more time off and they could bring their family across. But they ain't coming across to pay all of that money just to say they've been to the Bahamas, They could go to other parts of the U.S., they could go to Jamaica. They could go to Cayman. Well, Cayman ain't got much marinas either. But they could go to Cayman. They could go to Dominican Republic. They could go to Puerto Rico. Mind you, ain't none of them got no waters like us. So I'm not suggesting that that's a good idea. But sometimes people just don't like the idea you're taking advantage of them and costing them. Because if the Bahamas is 3 times higher than anywhere else in this hemisphere, then what are we trying to prove? And then we spending millions of dollars. Our Ministry of Tourism spending millions of dollars to try and get people to come to our country. And when those people come in, of course, by plane, by air, they just coming in and paying the customs and immigration fee or whatever. They're not paying any additional amount of money for being in our country. So these fellas in these vessels, you tell them, well, you got to pay this because you need to get a cruising permit. Okay. So I can pay for cruising permit. You ain't giving me no fuel. You ain't giving me no food. Just to be in your waters, you can charge me? No problem. Charge me, but don't charge me no big bunch of money. I don't even think they should charge somebody for coming to cruise our waters. Now, fishing is a different story. And I told the people, I said, look here. That fishing permit, I say, I am lobbying that we cut that out. I say, I don't think you all should be able to come in our country and fish. I think if you want fish, you buy it from a Bahamian, because we could go there and catch the fish for you to buy. In addition to that, because they kind of didn't like the idea too much, right? I said, but okay, we'll give you a little leverage. We'll say you could have enough fish for daily consumption only. We don't want you to have enough fish for a week or 3 days. No, 1 day at a time. You catch what you can eat. We don't want you to have no fish in your freezer. And any vessel we go to and they have fish in their freezer, they get locked up. I say, now the set who want to come here to sport fish, because they say some their kids and their friends used to come to sport fish. I say, we'll do like we do with bone fish, catch and release only. And I said this in many shows. Catch and release. You want the sport to pull in the fish, you don't need to kill the fish and eat it or put it in your freezer. So catch and release only. Is that another call, Mr. Producer? Calling you on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Yes, Mr. Dan, how you doing, bro?
I'm in top shape and getting better, my friend. How are you? Thanks for calling, man.
You're doing a great job of this, right?
I appreciate it, my brother.
Now, I want to say in reference to, okay, I know you were speaking about the voter fees and everything, but I want you to listen to this one.
Yeah.
And this is what I need you to be on. Since January you came in, this 2026.
Yeah.
Right? The government, when you had a civil matter before the court, because like you said, you work around that area. When you have a civil matter before the court, when you sue someone with a writ of summons, the fees go on from $200 to $1,500.
What?
And guess what? Not only that, they're telling you, even though you had your application already in, if you refile it, you have to still pay that $1,500, even if your document is filed in 2013.
So they make that retroactive?
Yes.
What?
I'm telling you, they broke the contract with everybody who already had their documents in.
So once your matter
and they didn't even put it in the papers.
Once your matter haven't been heard, you just have to pay that amount.
Right.
Wow.
No, even if your matter had already been in the system before that law,
but it ain't concluded yet.
You still have to pay it.
Wow, that is terrible. I didn't know that. So they gouging in all areas, not just this, but at least that one don't affect our tourists. You see, a lot of people depend on these sailboats and these tourists to come, especially on the family islands. And right now they ain't no boats going to them, so they're really suffering.
You can't have Mr. Bear. Man, come on, man. You trying to tell me now, right?
Yeah.
You ain't gonna secure your family. You gonna secure somebody outside of the house of your family before you secure your family well-being first.
No, but our family in our islands depend on these tourists. All I'm saying is I agree with you. I don't think they should have touched that, right? I'm not agreeing that they should move, but I'm saying if you're a country that depend on tourists and you spend millions of dollars for tourists to come here, you should at least make it easy for them to come in and not try to gouge them, because you're depending on them.
Okay, you're using the word gouge.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's what they're doing with us too.
I understand your point. I understand your point, But what I am saying is this. I understand your point. What I'm saying is this. The really and truly, right, the persons away have to make a difference in that. The persons who are coming in have to be on the air or on your show calling in internationally and speaking in reference to that. You know for a fact they don't listen to nothing you have to say.
No, I am looking out for the country. I even ain't concerned with them. All I'm saying is the people on the family islands call me,
I understand your point.
And they're hurting and they crying. And they saying somebody got to do something about this because these people even ain't coming no more and we depend. You see, I used to be on the fence force, right? And I know, but those family island communities depending on boats coming to go to the food store to buy people beers. I understand what they're saying. You understand?
That's not your point. I got your point.
Yeah.
But I tell you, but this is crazy. I tell you, when I go on to file some documents to some people, and they told me $1,500 from $200 to $1,500.
So either you have money or you can't even file a writ.
Yes, so that means that in actuality they're saying that they turn the court system into a rich man area.
That's my point. If you ain't got no money, you gotta suffer because you can't even put file a writ for somebody to get your money out of them.
No,
that's horrible, man. That's horrible.
Yeah, anything over $270,000 if you file against, let's say you have a big lawsuit to file.
Yeah.
Because what they're trying to do, I believe, is avoid you suing the government. Because normally you sue government for that kind of money.
Boy, and then you get paid lawyers on top of that.
They turn the court into a place that is a business for them now. The court's supposed to be laid up for any man to be able to go to court and get justice.
Yeah, our officials seem to have gotten very desperate to make money out of any kind of thing. And see, they know people have to come to file writs because people are always wrong. So what they say, in a sense, they have to come in, let's make them pay plenty money. And that's just backward thinking,
Yeah, that's just great thing, man. Because you ask me, now looking at the small man, you trying to stop crying. So the man said, can't we go to court?
Absolutely.
You can't stop crying to the man. He said, man, you can't go to court. Then I can do this man walk around all the money and ain't nothing I can do.
We need to revise this whole, and this is only with this administration in recent years. You know, they're just going up on everything. I mean, well, of course, the cost of living going up, but you gotta make it easier for the people that tougher.
Yeah, that's exactly my point.
You know,
exactly my point.
And then
they've been leaning on the side of tourists for many years. You would know that. Even though I hear you lobby it, right?
Yeah.
You knew that they were leaning on the side of tourists for many years born.
Absolutely.
Giving them favors over Bahamians, not only giving them favors over Bahamians, not even allowing Bahamians to go in their own casinos.
And not only the tourists look like the illegal migrants get their way before us too.
So the only way we can get a meeting with the government, we have to talk to the illegal person so we can go and talk to the government first.
And that's a mess, eh?
Something that happened.
But what's gonna? Tell me something. We got election here, right? We know within months we gotta have an election. What is being said by the opposition and the COI about things like what we're discussing now, like the price of the writ? Are they saying that they're going to move that and put it back to where it should be? Or are they saying anything at all? Because if they were to win, is it going to continue the way it is? Are they going to make it easier for us? We need, these are things we need to be talking to them about.
Yes, you're correct. But I am overly convinced that I'm overly convinced that my choice has, I already made up my mind. The COI or nothing.
Yeah, well, everybody got their choice.
Yeah,
but even so, what is the COI saying about what me and you discussing right now?
Well, what happened is the COI may not be aware of that particular situation, and I can guarantee you, if they're aware of that, they will bring that to the forefront.
Yeah, we need to look at these things, but we need to hear. I mean, you know, I have heard the COI saying a lot of things, and I don't like to get too much into politics on this show because it's a maritime show, right? They saying a lot of things about, you know, what is possible and this and that and the next, but some of the simple things like fees going up, and I'm not hearing too much of that from them, right? We need to move forward. Yes, they talk about the shanty towns. I don't know if they're talking about the immigration permits. I don't know if they're talking about locking up the people who hiring these people, because that's really where we need to look.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting back and I'm watching, and like everybody else.
Yeah.
And I think we need to start, but especially when they come to our homes and whatnot, we need to start putting question to them about things that could change, things that this government or previous governments had put in place that we need to rescind on, you know.
Yes, but see, you, Mr. Bain, you doing more than watching. You actually hosting a show trying to inform people, and so you going past just watching now.
Yeah, well, I
understand. You standing on solid ground now by you taking action.
No, but I could talk till I blow in the face, but it still takes us. It takes more than me just talking. But of course, I'm gonna talk. I mean, I could talk. I have a platform and I can use it for the better of the less among us. Eh? That's
okay, that's my point. That's my point that I'm making.
Yeah, you're right, and that's what I think all talk show hosts should be doing.
You may be thinking that. You might be thinking what you're doing is simple. Guess what? You have many people out there would not take a stand, even though it's right next door.
You're right.
You gotta get in your car. You gotta rage. You gotta put things aside. You gotta drop your family, even if they're not safe. And you travel to the show to make sure at the end of the day, those things, Mr. Bain made a contribution to this country. These things are shows we had on trying to encourage people.
Yes.
So I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate your call, and thank you very much, man. I
appreciate thank you, sir.
Yeah, keep listening, man, and thank you for calling.
Thanks, sir. All the best.
All right. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, that's a good call. We like people to express their concerns for maritime matters and non-maritime matters alike, because this particular show is all about trying to improve and make things better. I put out there what I recommend. I put out there what I think is wrong and needs to be corrected. And then I make no excuses for my position on things, because my position is normally supported by what I read in the dailies or what I read in the international media, and we just keep going with it from there. Yeah. So that's how I go. But back to before I take my next break, because boy, time winding down on us fast. Back to my situation where I was talking to those tourists, those people, those yacht people, the sail yacht, and then they were sailboats. They were all on sailboats, right? Power boats. Most of the boats we see coming through our waters, a good 85% of them, just be sailboats, and for obvious reasons, right? Sailboats don't burn as much fuel as power boats. Plus, sometimes, according to the direction they go in and according to the strength of the wind, they don't need to use no engine at all to get where they're going. And I can tell you, when you're on vacation and you ain't got time against you, man, you could take your time. Once you know your vessel could be moving, even if it's 3 knots, 2 knots, 5 knots, at least you know you're still getting there and you even ain't burning no fuel. And we were talking, but we talk about a lot of things. But anyway, their concern is the fact that a lot of their friends who they use, see, because what they do, what these people do on these boats, is when they get in a certain area, they get on their radio and they make friends with other yachts in the area. And over the years, because they do this thing over and repeatedly, they be looking forward to meeting some of these friends on these other yachts in these areas. And so it's a community for them. And the people told me one time, some of the people from one of the vessels said they were in the Ragged Island chain just off Flamingo Key, and they saw this big mothership. And when I say mothership, I mean drugs, right? On the fence first, once you say mothership, you talking about drugs. But they saw this big mothership pull up, and all these skiffs, these dinghies we call them, came off, and the fellas started to go out and they started to rake. They just fishing their heart's content. And they said, we know it wasn't Bahamians because we heard them talking. They said we was in our little boat too, and some of them was coming in our areas, and we didn't know what to do. We didn't know how, because of course we couldn't get on our radio and say nothing because they would hear us. They have VHF radio just like us. And me, being you feel safe, saying we got these people around here, illegal people fishing. So I tell them, I say, you was right. You can't get on your VHF and say those things. I say, especially in an area like that where only 2 or 3 boats in the area. I say, but you tell me your boat have internet. Say, yeah, we have it. I say, so you could go on the Royal Bahamas Defense Force website, and I think they have a link by internet where you could send them messages, emergencies. I've never been on it, but I think they must be at least to that level by now. You know what they said to me? They said, well, Cap, we don't know if that's the case, but when we were clearing customs, when we were getting our cruising permit, it would have been nice if they told us that these are some emergency contacts. If you're in a remote area, you could reach these internet addresses, and somebody will respond by either email or Facebook or whatever the case may be. Over the internet, they will respond to you and give you some assistance, because some of these areas you hardly no vessels to speak. I can tell you the Ragged Island chain is one of those. You hardly no vessels to be down there, and if you sense some danger and you want your yacht with your family, there should be, because you have internet nowadays. You didn't have it back in the old days, but you have internet. There should be a site or couple sites that you were given, you were provided when you was clearing into this country. And I just throw that out there for the Defense Force and Customs and Immigration, whoever deal with clearing these people, and Defense Force being the custodians for ensuring that if somebody is in danger, if they see something, they can reach them and pass on that information so they can then respond. And that's what we got to do. We got to make sure our guests or our tourists, when they come here by yacht and they're moving all around the place and they want to report something, they can do so discreetly and covertly. Yeah? And that's all they ask. So, They tell us, Norwegian Cruise Line. Should we take a break now? I think we should take a break now, because we're going to get into these cruise ships and what they do on these private islands and all the rest of that. Because I've been hearing some things where they sound good. And we need to address some of these things. Because I am hearing that Bahamians are being taken advantage of even more. So we'll talk about a little bit of that, when we return.
At Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, we offer first-class maritime security services throughout the Bahamas and the wider Caribbean. As experts in maritime security, we specialize in production of ISPS assessments and plans, verification audits, certified familiarization training, and port security consultancy, just to name a few. Our services also include provision of a security force to maintain all required ISPS facility security compliance. For all your maritime security needs, visit us today in Nassau at our East Street South location or in Freeport in the Kipling Building. Call us at 392-3515 or follow us on all social media platforms. Bahamas Maritime Connection, your leader in maritime security. Let's help you make the connection. At One-on-One Pharmacy, our friendly staff is ready to serve you. Visit us today for all your prescription and over-the-counter needs at our East Street South or Charles Saunders Highway locations. We're open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and from 9 to 4 on Sundays. In a rush? Send your refill scripts online at oneononepharmacy.com or ask about our convenient pickup service. One-on-One Pharmacy, providing personal health care with people at heart.
Sitting in the morning.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain, and our producer for the night is none other than the great Mr. Craig Gibson. We are talking maritime. So far, we've been talking about the boating fees, the hike in boating fees from $600 to $1,600 on average that our tourists have to endure, and as a result, only about 40%, if all that, maybe 30% of them continue to come around this time of the year because the rest think the fee so high they go in other places, right? Shanty towns, we saying that yes, we've had some action over the past 3 years, but we don't think it was enough, right? And if Bahamians cannot get away with certain things, why allow these unregulated communities to even exist? They shouldn't even be there. And then you drive along Carmichael Road and you see a bunch of them out in the distance after they clear down the land. And then you drive along Cowpen Road and you know plenty of them because early in the morning you see a whole heap of people coming out, and you know these people don't look like the type that are documented and all the rest of that, right? And they're getting away with waking all over the place. And zero employers are being arrested for hiring them. Although the act say anybody employ any one of them should be getting $3,500 fine a time. Can you imagine how much money you be getting in the treasury if you start locking up some of them, and how much impact that will have on the rest when they see themselves getting locked up, and they'll be searching, hunting. They'll be getting into the high schools trying to find Bahamians to hire, because they will realize you can't just take advantage of this country law no more. But it's also got to make that happen, eh? And we talk about what is the opposition doing as far as letting us know how they could be addressing these things if they were to become government. What is the COI doing about if they become government? How are they going to be changing some of these things? Or are they going to leave it the same and be the same status quo? Like they say, oh, the PLP and FNM are all in one. Yeah, next thing you say, the PLP, FNM, COI, all of them is one. Anyway, this is political silly season, and I trying to stay out of that, right? Because I don't get in politics. Not I. All right, so we move now to the cruise ships. Very recently, just, was it yesterday? Maybe over the weekend, I got an article that Norwegian Cruise Line wants to join Royal Caribbean Cruise Line, Disney Cruise Line, and MSC Cruise Line in ordering ships over 200,000 gross tons. Carnival ain't got none yet. Carnival is the largest of them all, but they don't have the largest ships of them all. Right? So, over the next 10 years, by 2037, MSC is going to have 3 big, huge, super, what they call them, mega ships of over 235,000 gross tons each. You know, those ships cost around $2.5 billion. Well, probably around $2 billion each, right? So if the cruise ship getting ready now to invest some $6-7 billion on just those rigs, they got a whole heap of other smaller ships they building as well. MSC is going huge. From the looks of it, they may be overtaking well, they can't overtake RCCL and Carnival, but I think them and MSC must be neck and neck. Anyway, you're doing big things, right? And the question comes up to me, because you're hearing a bunch of stuff going on with these cruise ships and their private islands in the Bahamas. Is the Bahamas preparing more docking facilities, especially placing docking facilities on the family islands? Because we don't have, our government ain't putting that on no family island for a cruise ship to come to, eh? And again, it's silly season. What is the government's plan for that? What is the opposition's plan for that? What is the other party's plan for that? Do they have any plan? Because if you come around me and you ain't got no plan for that, why are you coming around me? You know how much this country would change if we just use the people's money to put docks on those family islands where a cruise ship could tie up. But we joking. We can't be serious. But anyway, beyond that, that's what we got to do now. But beyond that, these private islands, we know that Coco Key had so much problems with the way employees are being treated that the director of labor himself took a trip to Coco Key to try and address this. And then at the time we found out that out of all the people working on Coco Key, more than 80% of them were foreigners. And then they have some coming off the ship who was working on the ship that they just give job to work on Stirrup Key. Coco Key. And Stirrup Key doing the same thing. That's right next door. And that's not our CCL. That's Stirrup Key is the same one. Great Stirrup Key is the same one. What the name? NCL, Norwegian Cruise Line, right? And then you learn that even Norwegian Cruise Line have a whole heap of foreigners working on land in our country. And I don't know what kind of excuse they use, but I know when I start to address why are they using port facility security officers who are foreign. In other words, the person in charge of doing the ship and port international security on the quay. But I'll tell you what they used to do. They used to actually, when the ship come there, let people come off the ship and set up for ISPS. Then they realized, okay, you can't do that no more. And they told our authorities back in those days, oh, we'll just use the ship security plan to cover our private island. And do you know those nincompoops, and I call them nincompoops because I don't understand for the likes of me how they could have accepted at that time, and it's 21 years ago, that a cruise ship security plan could have been used on the private island in our country? No, that was one of our port facilities. They need a port facility security plan to take care of that problem. And they didn't have none. And when I go on and I did one for one of those private islands, I ain't calling the name because boy, they don't like me, right? I go on and I did a port facility. I did a port facility security plan draft. And I told them they had to have certain things in place. They said, well, you know, our ship. I said, your ship can't take care of this because your ship can take care of what their plan say on board the ship. This year for the port. And of course, they strike me off the list. I never do no work for them since. And I don't care. I rather them strike me off the list than think I could just accept foolishness. Like our authorities go into these keys every single year, dealing with these foreigners in security, and they know that the government policy for security is you're not supposed to have no non-Bahamians working in the security industry. And then these other nincompoops, and I call them no name, and you all know who you all are, don't try and tell me. But we don't know what in the heads of agreement. Well, if you don't know, let them die and prove it to you, eh? Let them show you either a work permit to be a port facility security officer in security on in our country, or a phrase in the heads of agreement saying that they could do security on their key. And I could guarantee you ain't find it. Oh, well, we don't know. I said, well, if you don't know, apply what you do know, which means that's reserved for Bahamians, and make them either get a Bahamian or produce the document they need to be able to be in that position. And they still have some of them. Don't think I don't know. They still have some of them on those private islands who are foreigners in charge of security. What foolishness is that? Mind you, most of them done make the adjustment, but some of them still remain, and we need to weed them out. And I tell you that. 326-8255. We must get, but our time almost up, but my producer didn't give me extra 5 minutes, right? So let me just finish point. I want to talk about this Cuba thing so bad. The U.S. is doing Cuba really bad. The Cubans are really catching hell. But anyway, that's for next show. We can break that down to pieces next show, right? So we have on these private islands all kind of things going on, violations of our labor law. And although the labor director went to Kokoki, he didn't go to all the keys because he didn't get complaint from all. Sometimes people just keep their mouth shut just to hold their job, right? And then closer to home now, they got this one called Royal Beach Club. You know, the one right on Paris Island by the lighthouse where they develop all the land and they just have people come from the ship and on packages, and then they transfer them to the key, and they have a jolly overtime, which is very good. I wish all those cruise ships get someplace where they could do that. But guess what? My hearing and my understanding is when they go to that Royal Beach Club thing over there, the staff who are serving the people, bringing towels, people who mix in the drinks, people who just they serving, but they ain't getting the tips they supposed to get. Because the people are being told that you ain't got a tip. Leave your money because this is a dangerous place. Don't carry no money with you. You already got your card on the ship. You could use that over there. And then to make matters worse, there's no automatic gratuity. I remember when the PLP put in place 15% gratuity for anybody working in the service industry. Or was that maybe that was the union for the hotel? I don't know, but I know it was 15%. No matter whatever you order, 15% of that is tacked on for you for the service. And then I think eventually that was spread where it'll be shared with the cooks, the servers, and maybe one or two other entities. But the reality is that 15% is supposed to be paid for that service. So when these people come off the Royal Caribbean ships and they go on a key, the package that they paid the $200 for, or the $100 for, or even if it's $20 you pay for that package, and I know it's way more than that, 15% of that amount that was paid should go for gratuities for the people who doing the cooking and who doing the serving and who doing the mixing drinks and cleaning up the place. They need to get that 15% because I understand they're not getting it. And they need to get it on a daily basis. And it should be calculated and they should be able to see how much they make. Because you're no longer on your ship. You on land, you on Paradise Island. And the people who work in that land shouldn't be treated no different from the people who work on this key, should be no treated from the people who work in the Bahamas or anywhere else in the country. Now I know Sandals used to do some crazy things back in the day. I don't know if they're still getting away with that. Sandals used to tell the people you don't have to tip. I know because I used to go to Sandals sometimes. They used to tell me, oh, you ain't got to tip them, man. They did us. Boy, and I used to take advantage of that. But it ain't right. Right? We need to get this thing fixed in our country. If you come in the Bahamas and people, your ship is affiliated with something on land, when they get on land, our laws apply. Don't apply on your ship because that's on your ship and when you have your ship registered, blah, blah, blah. But no. These cruise ships are expanding. These cruise ships are getting plentiful. These cruise ships need docks. But we got to make sure when they come on land, they are in full conformity with what is required for our people working in this country on land. You look like nobody want to call tonight. We fresh out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we are going to come to conclusion. So I say to my Auntie May again, good night, Auntie May. I know you're feeling good. Boy, I know he's trying to reach me over the past. But yesterday, man, Auntie May was traveling back from Inagua and I ain't gonna lie. When I come down off the plane, I had my little headache, go on home, go on sleep, wake up. Man, anyway, Auntie May, I can call you. I owe my Auntie May a call and I apologize to her on live radio. I also thank my good producer, Mr. Craig Gibson, who keeps this show on a roll. I would like to thank my sponsors. That's Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, and they pay me too. Also, Island Care Pharmacy up in Freeport, and the 2 one-on-one pharmacies here in Nassau. I would like to call my 2 callers who are on point, and they something like me. They don't like foolishness. And I would also like to thank you, our dear listener, for continuing to listen and support our show. I know some of y'all don't call, but you all just tell me afterwards, boy, you was carrying on. Yeah, we need to hear these things and blah, blah, blah. And I just love it because let me tell you something. Y'all know how I go. I get talking. Get mad at me, that's your business. I ain't telling no fibs. I reading these things how the daily is, and that's how I roll it. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we say to you, good night, as Maritime Matters, tick, 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 out.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll